Power hour. It's the what? Power hour. It's the who? Power hour. Yeah. Blacks, Hispanics, and natives. Power hour. It's the what? Power hour. It's the who? Power hour. Yeah. Blacks, Hispanics, and
get some characteristics and some attributes, because the same way that the Lord put the breath of life into us, he put a spirit within these nations too, but he built us all differently. He gave us the breath of life, which was the commandments. That was supposed to be our identity to keep us separate from everybody else. The laws are meant to distinguish us and keep us separate from the other nations. Right. But it doesn't mean that he didn't give them certain attributes and characteristics to follow too. And this man, all right, the so-called white man Esau, he has distinguishing attributes and characteristics that he has in these last days for us to easily say, this is the devil the Bible speaks of. But our people have this affinity. No.
Right.
There's no way.
Not Timmy next door.
Not Timmy next door. No. There's no way that this man that he gives me foods. Right. He gives me sleeps. There's no way that this man could do these things, right, commit these atrocities. And he does it in plain sight, but now he does it differently. The worst thing that happened to us as a people was when those yokes came off.
That's it.
The worst thing that happened to us is when we became assimilated. Mm-hmm. Because now we don't know who the enemy is. At least back then, we knew who the enemy was. Right. It's the people that are lynching us. It's the people that are sticking dogs on us. Mm-hmm. Now, because of these little freedoms that we have, now it's like, nah, it's not him. Because look.
He gives us food stamps.
I was going to say, because we got Wilfredo. Yeah. I don't need a husband. I'm married to Wilfredo.
Right.
He takes care of me. Read that. Habakkuk 2, verse 4.
This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 4. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him.
That's what the Bible says. The heat talk is talking about Esau, the nation of Edom, who the world so ignorantly calls the white man. It says his soul was not what?
Upright in him.
It's not upright in him. So you can't take something that God made crooked and make it straight. That's how God created it to be. You can't force the course of the river. It's going to go as it moves, as the Most High will it. This man was made to be the sword that God uses to punish us for our disobedience. That's just how it is. You can't change that. Read on.
But the just shall live by his faith.
So the just, meaning those that come back and return to the laws, shall live by our faith. We have faith that the Most High created his son, Jesus the Christ, to come bear the iniquity of his people, Israel. That's our faith, is that we keep the laws and the faith of Christ, and that we will obtain the salvation that we also earnestly, desperately covet after. Because if not, then why are we all here, right?
Right.
If not, then go sin willfully and YOLO and get the same death anyways. Let's go to Genesis 27, verse 38. Again, we're just building up some attributes that this man has. Some of the characteristics that he has to be able to fight this spiritual warfare that we're fighting in. It's not a physical warfare, because, listen, we say it all the time, right? You hear the bishops say it, the deacons, us captains, officers, soldiers, everybody. We all know that we can't pick up arms and fight against this man.
No.
Bishop says it all the time. All this man got to do is cut off the water. You're done. You are done. If you have no water supply, what are you going to do?
That's it.
You are done.
Like, what are you going to do against a tank? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do against a helicopter or a plane?
Coronavirus.
Right, exactly. What are you going to do against biological warfare? Against warfare where they could just put a virus or a disease out like that and wipe out mass. And it's something new under the sun. They were doing the same thing when they put smallpox on blankets. Right. Mm-hmm. It's the same exact thing. What are you going to do against that? You can't do nothing but trust in the Lord and return it to him. Read that.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 27 and verse 38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing? My father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept.
So now Esau was the twin brother of our forefather Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, the progenitor of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. His twin brother Esau didn't get his blessing that he was supposed to receive as the firstborn, because that's how the Lord prophesied it from the very beginning. All right. So all these people were like, oh, well, that's not right that Jacob got it. No, it's right because God said it. All right. So Esau was like, wait, hold on, fam. One blessing, what about me? And he lifted up his voice and he wept. because he understood, damn, my little brother just got the blessing of everything that was promised. Because you don't think that Esau understood what he gave up? Of course he did, and he wept. He knew that he lost that ticket to immortality, and that it was now given to the 12 tribes of Israel. Listen, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. As much as I want to say about my uncles and father and everything else, right? As imperfect as they were, or as much as they didn't raise me a certain way, I thank the Lord that my father is an Israelite, because I'm an Israelite because of him. And that's that trickle-down effect. But he lifted up his voice and he wept. Read on.
Verse 39, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth,
Read.
and of the dew of heaven from above.
So Isaac said, nah, don't worry, Esau. You're going to get a blessing too. But your blessing is going to be, you're going to dwell in the fatness of the earth. So every single where the dew of heaven is, which literally is every single where, you're going to have the best of everything.
Right.
I remember the first time I went to Dubai, right? I was in Dubai. We get off the bus, and then we're going to go into this shopping mall they have there. By the way, this shopping mall is ridiculous, bro. They have like indoor ski resort and everything else. It took us like 3 days to walk around this mall. It was so big and so grand.
Wow.
Anyways, me and my buddy, we get off the thing. My buddy's a African American, right, from somewhere in North Carolina, right, small town. So we get off the bus, and the first thing he says is, "Hey, white people," because his thought process is, here we are in what they call the Middle East, right, or Africa, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But still, he's thinking like, damn, we're in this country that's supposed to be full of Arabs.
He
Arabic
looking for
people.
turbans.
Right, exactly. He's looking for camels and turbans, and he's seeing Edom.
Eat them.
But that's because of this right here. They will be in the fatness of the earth. They were, man, I've been all over the world, all praise the Most High. And back then, in my ignorance, it was just, okay, I'm traveling, I'm partying. But now when I look back and see things spiritually, bro, Thailand, Singapore, Australia obviously, but different parts of Asia, different parts of Europe, different parts of Central South America, they're all there. They're there. They're everywhere, enjoying the fatness of the earth.
Yeah, enjoying the best of
Right.
that country.
Because that's their blessing. It's the same thing here today. They enjoy the fatness today, but they got it off of what we're going to read now. Read verse 40.
Verse 40, and by thy sword shalt thou live.
That's how they got everything. It's through the art of war. That was his blessing. You'll get all these things, but it's not going to be given to you freely.
Right.
Right.
The same way that the kingdom of heaven was given to the Israelites freely, and we lost it, now we have to work for it. That was Esau's blessing. You're going to have all these things, but it ain't going to give it to you just willingly. You got to work for that thing, and you'll get it through the art of war. War. That's how you're going to get it, and that's what he does. But now it's not just physical war. Now it's a spiritual war. It's spiritual wickedness in high places against our people in these last days.
That's it.
Give me the book of Obadiah, and verse 5. Let's get another characteristic of this man for us to identify who he is.
This is the book of Obadiah, verse 5.
One of my favorite books of the Bible. And if it's not one of yours, then check your spirit. If it's not one of yours, check your genealogy, all right? Because this might be pertaining to you. If you're like, oh, I hate that book. I highlight it, but with my black highlighter. Obadiah, verse 5. So this is another attribute or characteristic that the Lord put into this man when he made him not upright. Read that.
If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night.
So if thieves came to thee, if robbers by night. So now the prophet Obadiah is setting up something here. He's letting us know your common, average, everyday thief, if he came to you as a robber by night, read.
How art thou cut off?
A regular thief would come to you, and then he would just steal until he had enough, right? Because he would have that sense of urgency. Hey, listen, this person might come home. Let me get in and let me get out, right? But this man, Esau, he's built differently. Read.
Would they not have stolen till they had enough?
They should just take what they can and get out of there before they get caught. But this man, read.
If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes?
So it says a typical thief would take what he can, and that's it. But this man, he don't take just the fruit from the tree. He takes the fruit, the leaves, the branches, right? The tree trunk, the roots, the soil. He takes every single thing. So when we read back in the prophecy of what his blessing would be, it was, listen, you're going to get all this stuff by war, but you taking everything. That's why the earth has to be refreshed, because this man has stolen everything until there was no more left to steal. He's stolen everything from us. That's part of his characteristics. That's part of his attributes. That's why we can identify these things. Give me 1 Maccabees 1 verse 7. 1 Maccabees 1 verse 7. So the same thing that happened back in the Maccabees time, we're seeing it now. It's evident. It's happening today. 1 Maccabees 1 verse 7.
Book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
So this Alexander is speaking of who the world calls Alexander the Great, or Alexander the Greek. But this is the man that unified all the Edom nations together. He was the first king of Esau to be able to unify all of his princes together, and they start conquering what back then was known as the known world. Every land that was back then, he conquered it, and he reigned 12 years. Read.
Verse 8, and his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
So now, after Alexander's death, his 4 generals took over, and then they put crowns upon themselves, and they split up all the landmasses that he had conquered. They said, okay, you take Egypt, you take Macedonia, so on and so forth. And that's how they did that thing. His 4 top generals took over in his stead. But read on, read.
So did their sons after them many years.
So did those 4 generals' sons, letting you know that it passed down from generation to generation to generation. The same thing today. The way Esau moves today, he don't, listen, we think of things, what can affect us tomorrow? What can affect us next week? Because we're a tangible people. We're a people that Christ said lacks faith. He's constantly getting on people that he walked with. People he walked with that saw him physically raise people from the dead. He's getting on them and saying, "O ye of little faith."
Right.
Or he's walking with them and he tells them, when you're converted. So how much the more us in these last days that we don't have these signs and these wonders, are we now walking blind and in darkness? Because when Esau makes plans, he says, listen, how can my kids' benefit off of this move?
Right.
All these vaccinations being pushed, that's gonna pump money into their bank accounts. It's not for them at this time. It's for their grandchildren's grandchildren to live off of. Lord's will, that doesn't manifest in Christ returns, right?
Well, that's the same thing they did with the plantations. You know what I mean? Like the Chase and
Right.
Johnson Johnsons. They all started off with plantations, and look where they're at now. You got
Absolutely.
major companies that their kids could thrive and live off of. So
The scripture says that every single one of them, their heart is deep,
right.
meaning their heart is their mind. So when they come up with some kind of process to keep us down and to help push their agenda and to help fatten their pockets, again, it's not like you said, Chase Bank, right? That didn't start off as a bank.
No.
It manifested into something like that because of free slave labor, because of plantations and things like that. But they did it with the mindset of, listen, this is 1750. By 2020, this is where we'll be.
Right.
That's how they think. We can't think past next week. Why? Because we live paycheck to paycheck. Okay, my check this week was this much. Okay, cool.
Lego.
Israel is back.
We back.
Israel is back.
We
got
back.
the nations running scared because Israel is back. All lies on us, cause we keeping them laws.
Keeping them
When the
laws.
Lord return, Babylon will fall.
Babylon go
Precept
fall.
solid. We got them on lock.
Got 'em on lock.
God's chosen people with Christ as our rock. Israel is back.
We back.
Israel is back.
We back.
You heathen, get ready for our whip to crack.
Damn.